Pastor Robert Morris said, I had this problem as a teenager. Stay tuned. God bless you, friends. Thank you for joining me on Morning Nuggets. This is yours truly, Pastor Nate. And as always, it is my absolute pleasure every time I can speak with you. If you like what you will have heard before the end of this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Robert Morris said, I was sexually immoral as a teenager. You may say, well, Pastor Nate, that's not uncommon for a teenager. But the problem is, friend, he went into the pastorate with this issue and it caused a problem. There is a big stir on social media, particularly the church community, about an article that's surfacing that details the sin that Pastor Robert Morris committed over 35 years ago. And it's strange because a few days ago, everybody was talking about Tony Evans and he stepped down, although he didn't specifically go into the sin, but he stepped down because of a moral failure, whatever that was. Now Robert Morris is talking about his failure, and these are both pastors in Texas. Robert Morris is the senior pastor of Gateway in Southlake, Texas, and he talks about in an article where he violated a 12-year-old when he was in his 20s. And the article, as you can see, indicated that the inappropriate behavior went on for 4.5 years. So the young lady was 12 years old at the time. It went on 4.5 years. It went on until the young lady was a little over 16 years old. That is so unfortunate. I'm not going to read the article. I'm sure you've seen it somewhere on social media. You can look it up. It's very lengthy. The short end of it is that he violated this 12-year-old girl for 4.5 years. And he was still preaching. Now that's the problem, because he brought that into the ministry, and to my understanding, he was also married and he had a child during that time. From what the article says, now this makes sense because he was actually describing what he was dealing with. Take a listen.
My rebellion took a form of immorality that I don't like to talk about much. I was very sexually immoral as a teenager.
And as you heard him say, he was sexually immoral as a teenager. Friend, before we go in ministry, we need to be delivered. Yes, I know we all deal with something, but this type of bondage, we definitely don't want to go into ministry with this type of bondage, because you're always around people, young, old, whatever. And if you got this perverted or lustful spirit operating, that's an opportunity. Some things we really need to be delivered from before we go into ministry, and I believe this is one of them.
So I looked for the girls that would be the most susceptible, and I learned how to spot this in girls.
Essentially, he describes himself as a predator. He was preying on the vulnerable, the girls that he thought would be susceptible to his advances.
Because of the lust that was in my life, it has taken years for me to get over the images and the things that I saw that no person should have ever seen, and the appetites that were created in me that God never intended to be created in me.
And as you heard him say, it took him years to get over it. So it was well in the ministry. He probably was dealing with those thoughts, and that's why I made it a point to say that we should really be delivered, especially if we're dealing with lust going into the ministry, because it could be a train wreck. As I conclude this exhortation, what Robert Morris did was terrible. It happened 35 years ago, and I pray that there were no recent incidents. You may say, well, he's disqualified to be a pastor. I'm not going to say that. I would say he's disqualified if that behavior continued on. However, I think the problem is he didn't experience legal consequences. Being that the young lady was 12 years old, he should have been held accountable legally, because that is a terrible thing. God can forgive you, and I believe in going through restoration, but I also believe in paying for what you did too. And I think that's where the problem is. I don't know what the statute of limitations are regarding that behavior. But if it's over, my suggestion would be go back to the family, particularly the lady now, because I believe the lady is around 50 years old now, and really apologize. Get that monkey off your back, get that straight since you put it out there, and then move forth in ministry. But if you're still dealing with those thoughts, I would pray that you make yourself accountable, of course, to your wife and to others. Maybe go through some counseling or whatever to make sure you stay on the straight and narrow. I would definitely stress apologizing, making sure that you got it right with that family, and particularly the lady now who was once 12 years old, because the scripture tells us that if you're overtaken in fault, we need to go to that person. Let me know what you think about the situation. Let me know if you think that Pastor Morris is qualified to continue pastor, even though this happened over 35 years ago. Thank you for joining me. In the meantime, in between time, be at peace and not in pieces.